So today we're going to do the handover video on the Laika Kosmo 5.4. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to go on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side, you can still see that you've got your fill-up points. Open this up, you've got your AdBlue, and then you've got your diesel point, which is just there. On the passenger side, opening up your passenger door, you can see that this vehicle is fitted with Remis cab blinds. Simply pinch the clip like so, and that will release the blind. Now I find if you lead the blind from the bottom and let that connect up to the side, that neatly connects up and it'll stop it from getting caught. Typically, if you lead the blind from the top, it does often get stuck at the bottom. And as a rule of thumb with anything in a motorhome, but this does apply to the blinds, if you feel like you're forcing something, you're probably doing something wrong. So just take a minute just to evaluate what you're doing. When you're taking it back in, as I say, just guide it in like so, and that'll connect into the point there. You've got these on your two windows, as well as your big window at the front as well. And as I say, they connect via a magnetic strip. Whilst we're here, you'll notice you've got your bonnet release catch here, which I'll just pull for you now. Now underneath the bonnet, there's not many things that you need to know. The main things that you need to know is if you're ever going to jump start the vehicle. I'll just lift the hood up now and I'll show you underneath. So with the bonnet raised, the main things that you need to know, as I say, are the places to jump start. Your negative jump start terminal is just here, and your positive is just down here where my finger is. It's a little bit hard to see on the video, but there is a plus sign on here. Just flick that up and that's where you connect it to. Moving over, you'll notice you've got your oil here along with your dipstick, which is below. Your brake disc fluid is directly above that. You've then got your engine coolant, and then in the corner here your power steering fluid. Moving around, you can see on this side you've got your entrance. We'll go on to the inside of the vehicle shortly, but with the door open you will notice that you've got the electronical step button here, as well as some floor lighting here, and you can of course access the fridge, but we'll go into all that in a little while. This is a sliding barn door, as you can see. Make sure that that is obviously shut at all times when travelling, as well as all your windows. Now coming to the rear of the vehicle, you'll see that you've got a little fill-up point here, and this is for your water. It's obviously not for your diesel, so don't get it confused. This is for the water, and this will fill up your water tank for your fresh water. So when you're on site, all you need to do is unscrew this using the key to unlock it, and then unscrew, and then put a food grade hose pipe into here, and that will fill up the tank. The reason you use a food grade hose pipe is just to ensure there's no bacteria that builds up in the pipe that will infect the water. So food grade hose pipe goes in here, and when it's overflowing, you know that the system is full. It's as simple as that. Moving to the back, you've got your barn door conversion, and also right up at the top within the brake light you have got a small camera as well, which will monitor your reversing. Opening up the doors at the back will gain you access to a bit of the storage area. Currently this vehicle has a third dinette to berth kit, and this is where this is stored, but you can of course remove that and use this purely for storage. In here you have got your gas bottles. This is where they go. When travelling, please ensure that the bottle is turned off to obviously ensure that for safety and things, and if you're involved in a crash, obviously you need to make sure that they are turned off. But when you're on site, you can of course turn them on and then feed your gas through. Now you'll notice on this side there is a button here that says max 100 kg. Obviously just that's for if you was having a tow bar here, so just bear that in mind if you was ever going to get a tow bar. Now if you want, with this rear bed, this does fold up, and you can remove, should you want to, these middle sections out to create a large area here. So say you're putting bikes in the vehicle, you can store them neatly without having to have a bike rack fitted to the vehicle. Now in the corner here, this brings us on to your drain down point, or your first drain down point, and this is for your fresh water. You've got three main drain down points in the vehicle. You've got your fresh water drain down point, you've got your wastewater drain down point, and then you've got your boiler drain down point. Two of them drain down points, being your fresh water and your boiler, are on the inside of the vehicle. Your wastewater is actually on the outside. But seeing as we're here, I'll just quickly show you your fresh. Simply remove this, You can see it gains you access to that freshwater tank. Undo this cap here, and this is where you can swill out the tank and clean the tank, which you don't really need to do because I don't advise drinking out the tank, so there's no real need for you to clean it, but you can do that by removing this cap. And then lower down, you'll see you've got a black nib here, and this will turn. This is what allows you to drain down the tank. Now, you've got a couple of options with this. All you've got to do is keep turning to open it, and then tighten up like so, to stop it from obviously draining out the water. Now, this has got a quick drain down point on it, and the reason it's got a couple of options is there's two ways you can drain it. So if you want, there's a little lug in here, and I can feel that now, if I turn that and push it to the lug, that will allow you to drain down the entire tank to 20 litres. So for example, if you're moving off site, and let's say you want a bit of water in the vehicle, because you don't know whether you're going to get any water on the next site, or you want a little bit in to make yourself a brew and to run the taps, you can run this or drain this down to 20 litres. This is the maximum amount of water you're usually allowed to travel with, which is what the manufacturer recommend. And that's how you drain down the entire thing to 20 litres. Now, if you wanted to carry on draining down, you have to turn it past that lug. You'll feel like a little click, and then it'll stop. You'll feel some resistance, and that will drain the entire thing down. Now, when you're on site, you'll have a big grid that you drive over, and then you can just do that, turn it, and drain everything down. You'll do that for your freshwater, your wastewater, and your boiler point, which I'll show you how to do later on. And as a rule of thumb with your drain down points, what I say is you can drain everything or the majority of the water on site, and then leave, as you're travelling home, all your drain down points open, as that will ensure that all your water drains out the vehicle due to the vibrations of the road. And that concludes your freshwater tank. So, moving around the vehicle, still on the outside, you'll notice you've got your aerial that's been mounted up on this vehicle, up at the top, which again, I will show you later when on the inside of the vehicle. And the first locker we come to on the outside of the van is this here, and this is for your cassette toilet, which I'll open up now. So, with the locker open, as you can see, it gains you access to the cassette toilet. So, to empty this, all you need to do is pull the blue catch up, like so, and that will pull out and disengage the actual cassette itself. Now, with the cassette released, you can see it's really easy when draining this down. So before removing, you need to always ensure that the blade on the toilet is closed. If the blade is open, what that will do is it won't allow you to actually pull this out, and it can get jammed. We've had customers in the past who've then forced that, which then ultimately breaks the system. So just bear that in mind. Always ensure that the blade is closed before removing. And again, if you feel a bit of resistance, you're doing something wrong. Once you've done that and you've freed it up, all you need to do is simply pull the cassette out like so. Just pop it on the ground here so I can show you. To empty this, all you need to do is pull out that funnel and remove the blue cap. Using the blue button on the back there, click that in, which will release an internal vacuum, and that will empty the contents of the cassette out. You will notice you've also got a blue toggle here that does actually turn. This is what makes contact with the blade when it's in situ. You should never need to move that. That should always be in that position. If that is, for example, off slightly, it won't allow the cassette to slide in. It'll ultimately break, so just bear that in mind. And that's everything really for the cassette. You can put in a little bit of water in here to swill it out. And using the top here, you can put as a measurement, there's a little measurement on there, you can put your blue fluid in there just to top it up, so it's ready for use. When you're putting it back in, simply line it up and make sure when you slide it in, that blue little cap, or latch rather, slots into position. Now, directly below the cassette, you've got, as you can see, a small little black anchor point, if you like, and directly behind that you can see there's a grey waste pipe. Now, this is your second drain down point, and this is for the wastewater. As I mentioned, this is on the outside of the vehicle, so it's dead easy and dead simple. So when you're on site, you can drive over the grid and empty the water. Somewhere in the vehicle you'll have a little handle. The handle will simply connect onto this, and you can simply turn that, and that will empty the wastewater tank. And your wastewater, not to be confused with your cassette, will carry all your water that goes down your plug. Obviously your cassette is a different unit. Moving on, you've then got your electric hookup point. So this is what gives you 230-volt mains electric in the vehicle. So when you're on site, no doubt you'll be connecting up like so. And then you can see that you've got your Truma vent here. This does get that quite hot, so just bear that in mind. This is in essence your chimney. Now that concludes the outside of the vehicle. We're now going to move on to the inside, where we're going to talk you through the bits and how to operate a few of the systems. Right guys, so we're now on the inside of the vehicle, and you can see straight away you've got your control panels here along with two other devices here. So firstly, just addressing these two devices, this is in essence a built-in carbon dioxide and smoke detector. So one regulates smoke, the other one carbon dioxide. To turn that on, simply push that up and you can see it's on. And then this one will obviously detect one gas, and the other one down here will detect the other one. And as I say, that's just a built-in smoke detector and carbon monoxide system. You've got a test button here just to ensure that obviously it is working. I'll leave that off for the time being. Next, you've got your main control panel along with your control panel for your heating system. So firstly, the control panel, all you need to do is click your on button. It's touch sensitive. And you can see, because we are obviously hooked up, that turns on your lights around the vehicle. Using your individual switches, you can then turn on lights like so, or turn them off. Now, firstly, you've got a couple of options. So firstly, your waste tank with nothing in at the moment, as you can see. So if I tap that, nothing's coming on because I've nothing in the waste tank because it's completely drained. I think that's going to be the same for the the fresh tank. Again, there's not much in the tank whatsoever. So waste, there's nothing. The fresh, there's about 25% in, there or thereabouts. You've got your battery up at the top now, and you can see if I hold that, it tells you they're at 12.3 volts, which is pretty good, to be fair, about 75%, because obviously we're plugged in, so it's not bad at all. As you can see, it's dead easy, dead simple on here. Now, up at the top, you can see that you've got your Truma control panel. If I turn this on, just by holding it, all you need to do is select a temperature, like so, click that in. For your hot, and sorry, so that's for your space heater, so the vehicle's heating itself. Next, for your water, you've got the option of eco or hot, or boost. In fact, eco is approximately 40 degrees, hot is approximately 60 degrees, and boost in essence concentrates on heating the water rather than the actual vehicle itself. So just bear that in mind. Next, you've got the option of the vent of the fan. Obviously, I've not got anything selected at the moment, so it's only giving the option of the vents, which will recirculate the air in the vehicle. But if you wanted, once you have got one selected, it will of course, you know, give the option of having it on high or eco, high, or boost, which are obviously different intensities of the fan. Boost will work the exact same as it did for the water, but vice versa. So instead of concentrating on the water, it'll concentrate on the heating. Coming back up to the panel, just working your way through, you can see you've got a timer here. So if you wanted to set the heating on a timer, you can do. You can change the time as well. And then you've got your settings panel. The main things that you need to know in here are your reset button, which is there. So if you ever get a fault, you can reset it through the system there. To turn it off, all you need to do is hold that button in. You'll then get an indication that it's going off, like so. And then that is the system off. Now with this vehicle, this does have a diesel heating system, which is all run through that. So everything that I've just taught you through on there is all powered off the diesel. So it's nice and easy and simple. Now, just coming below and into the kitchen area, I'll just stand outside for this. You can see that you've got your fridge. This fridge, you can access both sides, which is dead handy. This is a Dometic fridge. To turn it on, all you need to do is hold like so. And then when you get this indication, you know it's on. So up at the top, you've got the temperature. Just click the button like so, to select it. So you got your temperature, happy with that. You can see that we've got your fuel, which is just below, which is on a 12-volt system, so it's a leisure battery. And then right at the bottom, you've got the settings and things, so if you ever need to reset the fridge. But it's dead easy, it's not a three-way system or anything, it's just strictly off the 12-volt, so it's a nice, simple system to use. To turn it off, simply hold. After the beep, you know it's off. Now with your fridge, as you can imagine, it doesn't draw as much power as it does, or as it would a normal fridge. So if you want cold things to be in the fridge, put cold things in. And if you want frozen things to be in the freezer, put frozen things in, as it does a very good job at maintaining the temperature, but it doesn't do the best of jobs at getting it down to temperature, so just bear that in mind. Now, moving on from the fridge, you can see directly opposite it, you've got a little opening, which in here houses your RCD breaker, so if the vehicle ever trips, you can come to this section here. So that's just there. You've then got some taps here, grey taps. You may have some more in the vehicle actually, and these are isolation taps, so you don't need to know anything about that, don't worry. Just leave them as they are. They're really just for the technicians who are working on the vehicle. And then finally, you can see here, you've got what looks to be a plastic box here. This is for your drain down point, and this is your final drain down point. As I mentioned, this is for your this is for your boiler drain down point, which is by far the most important drain down point there is, to be honest with you, as it's key that this is always drained down correctly. So, how to operate it? Dead easy, dead simple. At the moment it's open. You know it's open because the black nib on the inside of the diamond is up. A little bit difficult to see on the in the video, and the blue tab is pushed out. To seal the unit, you pull it, turn it like that, so the diamond, so that black nib goes in, and push that blue tab in. That is the system closed. So when you're on site, you can do that, and then begin filling it up with water. When you're setting off and you're wanting to drain down, simply turn the system, or turn the diamond. The black nib pops up and you can see that blue tab comes out, and that will open the system and drain it down. And as I mentioned, you can leave this open as you're travelling to get all that water out. Now what this is a frost protection valve, so this will actually react to temperature, which is nice. So for example, if you've actually forgot to drain down the system, as a fail-safe, it will automatically trip as this reacts to temperature. There's a solution in here that reacts, so it will automatically trip as it has done here, and empty its system, its water, sorry, out the system. Now, what might happen is if you've not used the vehicle in a few months and it's particularly cold, if you've come to use it, you've come to seal the unit, so you may turn the diamond like so, and you'll go to pushing this blue button. This won't push in, it'll keep pinging out. The reason for that is it's scared, or it's worried that you're going to, in essence, put water in and it's going to freeze because it reacts to temperature, as I told you. If that's the case, you need to go onto the inside of the vehicle, turn your heating on, as I've just shown you how to do, and run that for approximately 30 to 40 minutes. What that'll do is it'll warm this area up, and it'll allow you to then close this system and fill it with water. Alright, so just bear that in mind. But it's a really good system to have, it's just a fail-safe. So, looking up, you can see that you've got your lounge area here. This particular vehicle actually does have a dinette to berth kit. For how that works, all you need to do is this leg, as you can see, is cut in half. This lifts up, and then that lower leg actually pulls off. Once you've done that, as you can see it splits in half. You can then drop this table. At the moment it's simply clipped onto the side here, but you can lift that up, remove it, and clip it on to the bar that's just below that, and that creates the base for the table here. Underneath the bed, you'll notice you've got a wooden panel, which will then sit here and connects into this point here. There's a little cutout, as you can see underneath there, and then fold out the leg, and that sits here. And then you have a small bed for one, which just forms here, because obviously you've got the cushion that will go on it, and it simply fills out this area. So it's dead easy and dead simple, that. Obviously it's mainly a two-berth van, so you'll probably not use that much, but it's just worth one thing to know. You can see up at the top here, you've got a bit of storage, which is ideal. And in here, you've got a max view aerial that we've fitted to the vehicle. At the moment, it's on. To turn that on and off, you've got a little switch here. The blue light indicates it's on. Now, you need to make sure that your control panel is on for that to operate. And then obviously it's turned on for your aerial to work. So it's as simple as that. And you can see that you've got your aerial point there going out so it can connect to your telly, which will connect onto there. Whilst we're here as well, on your windows, you can see you've got fly screens and blackout blinds. I did forget to mention as well, on the outside of the vehicle, you do have a pull-out fly screen as well. And then here, your windows, just by opening them like that and pushing them out, let it click into place, will allow you to open the windows. You can, if you want, have these on venting, should you wish, like so, which will just allow a little bit of clearance here for a bit of airflow. But do make sure that when you are travelling, that window is closed, because you don't want any air or wind to get through there. And that's the same thing that goes for the skylight as well. So moving on to the kitchen area, you can see you've got your oven, not your oven, sorry, your hob. It's been a long day. And then you can see you've also got your sink as well. Now, what you need to make sure is that the system is obviously primed when using the vehicle. So how you do that, pop this glass up, obviously go to all of your taps. You need to firstly make sure that, of course, there's water in the vehicle. And once all of your taps are open, this does include obviously this here, you can start allowing water to flow through. When it's running steadily, you prime your system. Now you can put it off on your cold first, that'll prime the system for the cold water, then flick it over to hot, and that'll prime the water for the hot. Now what I'd do is I'd always run it off the hot first, because what it'll do is it'll pull water through the boiler, which will then allow it to come out of the tap. The reason I do that is it allows you to get water into the boiler first. Then when you turn your heating on, naturally it does take a bit of time, about 30 minutes or so, to get the boiler up to temperature, or the water rather. So by the time you've primed everything and you've got everything right in the vehicle, you'll be ready to use your hot water. Now you don't need to select a pump with this. I initially thought you did, but you don't actually have to with these. They've already got a pump inbuilt, and thanks to the taps, which have micro switches, it will activate and deactivate the pump whenever you need it. Just of course make sure, and you're going to anyway, but just make sure that your taps aren't on with no water in the vehicle. So moving on, you got a little bit more storage in the kitchen area, along with up at the top. This can remove as well. It's just a shelf that just sits into this rail here, which is quite nice and handy. Opposite the kitchen, you've got your bathroom area. Now, we've discussed obviously about priming your system, so you're sorted with that. You can see you've got bits of storage as well in the vehicle. The main thing that you need to know, of course, is your blade. As I mentioned on the outside, this needs to be closed when not in use. The blade is this little piece of plastic here, and you can push that to the side, depending on whether you want it open or closed. Push away from you, that opens it, and towards you, that closes it. So you need it open when you're using the cassette. So that will open the cassette up, so all the waste can drop into the cassette. And once you've done that, you can click your blue button on the top there, activating the flush, and that will empty and clear whatever waste is in the loo itself, and it'll flush it into the cassette. Once you've done that, close the blade. Now you do that for two reasons. You make sure that it's closed to avoid any odours from escaping, but two, it just gets you into the habit of having that closed, so when you come to remove the cassette, you don't run into the issue of it jamming. Just going back up to this as well, this blue button which activates your flush, as I say, that does actually take from the fresh water, so just be mindful of that. Every time you use that, it is taking an element of your fresh water. Alright, so just bear that in mind. Now that concludes your handover video on the Laika Kosmo. I hope you enjoyed.